Yes. So I'm starting the class. So basically today we will discuss a couple of things. First is the convention, 1985 convention on protection of the ozone layer. The second thing that we will discuss is the Montreal Protocol, 1987, that is also related to protection of the ozone layer. And the third thing that we will discuss is about today's Brundtland report or our common future. uh, you know these three things we will discuss, and if we will find time, even we will take this 1992 development, that means the third decade development, to this Rio conference. But before that, we have to finish the development of the international environmental law from 1980 to 1990. In last class, we have discussed this 1982 United Nations General Assembly, resolution, that is known as World Charter for Nation. Though it was an, a non-binding document, but still have the persuasive value, or you can say the moral force on the state to observe and behave according to the this resolution or according to the document. See, if you see our Earth is the only planet in our solar system where life exists, and this life also exists within a thin, you can say, plate, and this is known as the biosphere. Certain height to the air, then certain depth to the the water and the soil. There life exists, the various form of the life, various animals, microorganisms, plants, etc. And this biosphere can be divided into three areas, like atmosphere, that constitute air column, then hydrosphere, that constitute water, and the lithosphere, that soil and you can say the rocks. Now, if you see that in the atmosphere also, we can divide that atmosphere into the four layer: troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and the outer side is obviously exosphere. And then I think in the science you have read, so there is no need to repeat that. But in that stratosphere, there is the presence of the molecules of oxygen, the form of one form of the oxygen molecule, that is known as the ozone. And is present at the nearly at the length of, or you can say the height of the 32 kilometer around the earth. So basically the ozone is, ozone can be found in three form. One is the ozone, oxygen. One is the oxygen atom, O, 8 is the atomic number, 16 is the atomic weight, and then oxygen molecule, O2, and the third is the O3 molecule, that is known as the ozone molecule. Now this ozone is present in this particular area, that is known as the the ozone layer. And the length of ozone layer is different at the pole and different at the equator. But the very important function this ozone layer do for the existence of life on the earth. The see this O3 molecule absorb the ultraviolet rays, because sun radiate different, or you can say the various spectrum of light. And this ultraviolet rays are very harmful for the human. It causes cataracts and the cancer, skin cancer. And O3 is the natural absorber of the ultraviolet rays. Now what happens that this is the proven by scientific proven fact that a certain free this chlorine and bromine and this type of the inert gases deplete this ozone molecule and convert it into the oxygen oxygen molecule. And because of that, that absorption of the ultraviolet rays became very less. Now, because of the industrial activity and various chemical that we use for refrigeration, for keeping certain things cool, like AC, refrigerator, and some other things that we uh, you know uh, keep our medicine, food item, etc. at lower temperature. We use certain this ozone depleting substance, ODS, and these substance when released in the atmosphere, then they went up to the stratosphere, and because these are very inert gases, so they don't react with something, and they are by the sunlight, the chlorine and bromine is released, and then these chlorine and bromine are responsible for destruction of the ozone molecule. Then later on it settled down to the lower surface of the, or you can say, air column. But that is very dangerous for the ozone layer. And it was observed that at the pole, there was very less density of the ozone, and that is known as the ozone hole also. Now, this is not that one country can stop this ozone depletion, or one country is responsible for the ozone destruction. And so overall cooperation was required, and ultimately, that consensus was made. This convention, that is a binding document. This binding document was drafted, and then the parties have signed it, and finally it come into the force. So this first document that we will discuss is uh, the Convention for Protection of Ozone Layer. Yes, Convention for Protection of Ozone Layer, or Vienna Convention on the Protection of Ozone Layer, 1985. Now, see, there is another thing that we have to discuss, because along with this Vienna Convention, we will discuss even the Montreal Protocol, the London Protocol, the French, the Kuala Lumpur, and the other development in that series. See, in the domestic sphere, when there is a legislation, like the parliament at the central level pass a legislation, so in that legislation, on each and every aspect, the parliament cannot enact the law, and so in every legislation you will find a provision where the rule making power is given to the executive. When it is the central legislation, the rule making power is obviously given to the central government. When it is the state legislation, so the rule making power given to the state executive. So similarly, there, when there is a any need, so the executive can frame the rule. Here, the legislative process, or your rule making procedure at the international level, is different from the domestic sphere, because as such, all countries are sovereign. There is no authority above than the country that can legislate for the countries. So through the mutually coming or signing the convention, the rules are, or you can say laws are framed at the international level. So convention was framed, but later on, in these type of the convention, it is required the continuous observation. And so as such, like at the national level, there may be the executive, state executive. When there is the required, state executive may formulate the rules. Like if you see this Essential Commodities Act and 1956, this is an Essential Commodities Act, have only has only 8 sections, and then the power is given to the central government. From time to time, central government frame rules. So similarly here, the problem was that yes, convention we have, drafted. The convention will be, then signed and will be ratified. But then the convention talk about the systematic reduction of the chlorofluorocarbon or ozone depleting substance. But then also the review procedure is required, that how much we have reached, and if there is something other required, then also has to be come at the conclusion. And so this is done in in many convention. Now we onward we will discuss, you will find that there is a concept of conference of parties, COP. And what is this conference of party? Basically it is, you can compare it with like the executive. So the conference of the parties is the body where all the member to the convention, they meet, and that meeting may be annually at the 2 year. It may be emergent meeting. So that provisions we will discuss when I will take this document. And this conference of the party then will decide, will review, will take other issues into the consideration, and if the parties reach at the consensus, then they again enter into a document, and that supplementary document will be known as the protocol. So like in the 1987 at the Montreal, the parties again reached out the conclusion and got this Montreal protocol, then the London protocol, and the the other also. So far have in many times document also I will supply that talk about the Montreal and the other discussion and the other meeting of the parties. So that thing earlier, India has not signed the treaty and the Montreal protocol, and because there was some objection, that also we will discuss, but later on we have signed, and accordingly we also frame a rule in 2002 under the Environment Protection Act 1986. Okay, so first I'm taking this Vienna Convention on Protection of Ozone Layer. Now, if we read that Vienna Convention on Protection of Ozone Layer, the preamble says that the party to this convention aware of potentially harmful impact on the human health and environment through the modification of ozone layer, because it was well established that if there is 1% depletion of the the ozone layer, then it will create 2% more ultraviolet rays on the earth, and that result into the 3% more skin cancer and the cataract cases. So it was well established, scientifically proven that the ozone layer depletion, how much harmful impact on the human health, on the environment, on the crops, livestock it has causes, and there is also reiterated in the preamble also. Then the principle 21, if you remember, that the declaration on United Nations of the that conference on human environment, or you can say the Stockholm Declaration, and principle 21 talk about that the state have, in accordance with the United Nations, the principle of international law, the sovereign right to exploit their resources pursuant to their own environment policies, and the responsibility to ensure the activity within the jurisdiction or control, but do not cause damage to the environment or other state or the area beyond the limit of the jurisdiction. And when through our industrial activity we emit chlorofluorocarbon or other ozone depleting substance, so ultimately it result into the ozone, a hole in the ozone layer, and the harmful effect to the other nation. So taking all these things have, you will find in the preamble, and so accordingly we reach and determine to protect to human health and environment against all adverse effect resulting in modification of ozone layer, have agreed as follow. And then there is body of the the convention. Obviously the first article talk about the definition, and then there is the obligation under the article 21. So the article 21 is important, as like article 20 principle 21 in the Stockholm Declaration, principle 22 in the this World Charter for Nature. So here Article 2 of the Vienna Convention on Protection of Ozone Layer, that talk about the obligation of member state who are the member to this particular convention, that the parties shall take appropriate measure in accordance with the provision of this convention and those protocol in force to which they are party to protect human health and environment against the adverse effect resulting or likely to result from the human activity which modify or likely to modify the ozone layer. Then the parties, in accordance with the means at their disposal, cooperate by means of systematic observation, research and information exchange in order to better understand and assess the effect of human activities, adopt appropriate legislative and administrative measure, cooperate in formulation of agreed measure, etc. So basically, this Vienna Convention talk about that at the international platform, we take this cognizance that ozone layer is depleting because of the human activities. And under the article principle 21 of the Stock Declaration also, that our activity should not be such that it cause the transboundary harm. And so we here agreed that as per the the section article 2, that we will reduce the substances, we will increase our activity, we'll switch over to other substances that are used. So mostly these ozone depleting substances are used for refrigeration, for cooling. But now if you see that according to this convention, no limit has been put that how much reduction will be done, when that reduction will be done, no time boundary is in. So just it is a skeleton legislation. Then Article 3 talk about research and the systematic observation, and here also there is obligation on the parties to make an appropriate research, to cooperate with the other parties directly and indirectly, and other things are there. Then the transmission of the information, that the secretariat has been established under the this convention, and the parties shall transmit the data of their country to this secretariat. And then there is the concept of the COP, conference of the party, that a conference of the party is hereby established, and the first meeting of the conference of party shall be convened by the secretariat, designed at an interim basis under Article 7, law not later than 1 year after entry into the force of this convention. And this conference of the party will decide if the further action will has to be taken and all these things. Then accordingly, the conference of the party and the secretaries were established. And according to Article 8, the adoption of the protocol can be done according to this convention. And so in 1987, this Montreal protocol was come into picture. Now see, uh, yes. Now see this Montreal protocol on the ozone, uh, to the Vienna Convention on this ozone protection, and this also talk about that the substances. Now the substance has been categorized. There is the list of the substances, that these are the ozone depleting substances, in which there are the chlorofluorocarbon, the different form of the chlorofluorocarbons, and these should be. But there was the problem that the limit was put for every country, irrespective of the share of the ozone emission in the environment. And that the time was also fixed. And because of that, many underdeveloping country has objected. India also objected and said that no, we will not sign. The pact was this Montreal protocol was signed by 48 countries, but India and some other nations kind, and they said that it has the discriminatory clauses. Because if you see the per capita emission of the chlorofluorocarbon, in India it is less than 1%, but in the USA it is more than, it is about 37% of the world consumption. If you see the the activity for which we release the chlorofluorocarbon in the underdeveloping country and developing country, they use the chlorofluorocarbon for refrigeration of their medicine, food product, and other essential space project, etc. But in the developed country, these chlorofluorocarbon are emitted because they use air conditioning system in their houses and their vehicles. And then the developing country are not in economic position to switch over the technology to the other substance. And if they take the technology from the developing in developed country, then they also charge high amount. And because of that, of the opinion that it is discriminatory, it was you know it was not signed by the India and some other underdeveloping and developing country. Now that amendment was done, and this amendment became operational in 1992. And then developing country, that they will phase out developed country from 1995 to 2000. Then the developing country, they will take time from 2000 to 2010, so that they can also develop their system. They can switch over to the other substances used in the refrigeration. And so after that, India also signed this Montreal Protocol. So after this London summit, this protocol was signed. And in two after 2 years in Copenhagen in 1992, further it was supplemented, and thereby, timetable for phasing out of was enhanced. That no, the timetable, this is not the time in which developing countries can phase out all the chlorofluoro or ozone depleting substance. So that was also increased. Now when India has signed, and at that time, in 1986, we have, our parliament has passed the umbrella legislation to dealing with all aspect of the environment, EPA, Environment Protection Act, 1986. So that under that act in 2002, the central government has framed the rule, ozone depleting substance regulation and control of rules. And here, according to the Montreal Convention, the substances were categorized that these are the ozone depleting substance, and if an industry is using these substances for the refrigeration, then that industry has to register. And then accordingly, the switch over and program was formulated by the central government. So this was the whole the concept. The later on in uh, 2000, after 2000, some other aspect, like there should be a proper fund. So the green fund, there should be the taxes, etc., environmental taxes, all other this concept was also uh, in various conference of the parties was discussed and reiterated. So this is the whole the legal framework at the international layer about the ozone protection. And at the same side, this ozone depleting substance regulation and control rules 2002 are present at the national level. So see, we learned that how from 1985 this convention on the ozone depleting substance first took this cognizance that yes, because of the human activities, we are losing our cover, or you can say sunscreen, in the form of the ozone. And the cooperation of every nation is required. The cooperation of the maximum nation is required, because no one one nation is not eliminating, but we all are contributing in the emission of the ozone depleting substance. Then through the conference of the party in every 2 year, there is the discussion, the review procedure, to the secretariat, the information, the data also has to be supplied. And even the data from the India also be supplied, because under these rules 2000, we have that any industry that using the ozone depleting substance, chlorofluorocarbon, halogens, or carbon tetrachloride, etc., CCl4, they has to register, compulsory register. So all details is supplied to this thing. Then there was the trade in the ozone depleting substance, with non parties, and that also has been banned, after this 2000 rule. So this is all about the ozone, or depleting substance framework from 1985 to 2017. Some documents I will supply to, definitely one is this convention, then Montreal Protocol, and even this one other reading also I will supply, so that you can formulate your the question or your answer. Okay, now come to the next development, and that next development is this 1987 Brundtland report, that by the World Commission. That World Commission was constituted, and this World Commission has given a report in 1987, Our Common Future. But because it was chaired by this his chairperson was the some Brundtland, so it is popularly also known as the Brundtland report. Now, some important thing about the Brundtland report. Here in the Brundtland report, it was held that the development and the environment are not two opposite term, but both are the side of the same coin. And the first time the concept of the sustainable development has been you can say debated in this particular document. Here the concept of sustainable development and the intragenerational equity was also proposed. And there it was said that the development, or you can say the enhancing the quality of life, can also be done, and by that the protection of environment can also be possible. So so that is the major change, and from this the concept that the development and environment protection are antithesis has been lost its importance. And then at the every platform, from the international to the domestic, the talking, the deliberation, the discussion was on the sustainable development. Later on, when we will, in the next chapter, when we will discuss that what is the sustainable development and the component of the sustainable development, we will discuss in the detail that what is the this Brundtland report, and our common feature, and how this particular concept was proposed, and how it is important. Now, if you allow me, because these if you allow me, even I can take this next decade, or should we stop now? Huh? Yes, guys, please answer. 1990 से 2000 का भी डिकेड हम इंटरनेशनल इन्वायरमेंटल लॉ के डेवलपमेंट का स्टार्ट करें, या फिर चलो, because time is very less. So in the next class, I will take this next decades, that is from 1990 to 2000. And here we will discuss first is the United Nations Conference on the Sustainable Development 1992, because now the human environment, all these terms have lost its importance after this Brundtland report. This of the World Commission that was constituted by one body of the United Nations. This sustainable development and the outcome of the Rio conference, that was the Rio Declaration, various principle has been enhanced again. That is the part of the soft law. And then after that, in that same year, some other document came into the existence that are binding in the nature. One was the Convention on the biodiversity. Another was the Convention on the climate change. Then on the Convention on the climate change also, this Convention on protection of ozone layer, there was also the concept of the conference of the parties, that the parties will meet at the regular interval, and then they will decide, discuss, and supplementary protocol also can come into existence. Then Kyoto Protocol, Nagoya Protocol, then all these things also we will discuss. Then on the conference of the biological diversity also we will discuss in the detail, and then conference of the parties. And after that we will discuss the development that made in India, this Biodiversity Act and rules under the 1986 related to harmful bacteria and microorganism. Then we will take also the Agenda 21, that what is Agenda 21, and Millennium Development Goal, that's the earlier Sustainable Development Goal, and then later on Millennium Development Goal. And then from 2000 to 2010, development of international law, and then later on 20 also we will discuss. So maybe in next class I will try to complete all these documents, and these documents I will share more. You can read from the book and from this lecture, because on these point readings are not provided in the book. We have only the case material where the cases. Then the remaining two cases also I will discuss, and try to finish in 3 more lecture to this whole top chapter, and then we will move to the international principle for protection of the environment. So with this, today class is over, and now you are welcome to ask any question, or if you want to share anything, any query, etc., you are welcome. Yes, guys, any question?